right, good evening. Welcome to After Dark at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We have a special show tonight, and we're going to introduce everybody to Sophie Jordan Collins, who's with us, and also our great friend, Sarah Vantine is with us. Sarah, I think the only risk for you and Sophie is that you may become known as hippies after this event. What do you think?
Hey, I'm in.
And Sophie, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, thanks for having me, y'all.
So we got a lot coming up. It's been a busy couple weeks, and a busy couple weeks coming up. We've got some pop-up events that are happening. We've got a lot of activities going on. Sean Butler was just on the show. We're working on a fundraiser to help support him in his fight against cancer, and we're all rallying and circling the wagons for him. So talk about that a little bit today. Okay, first of all, you ladies are dressed up, and you guys look great. Sarah, I've seen all the pictures of you and Sophie. Everything looks fantastic out there. I like it.
This has been a lot of fun. You know, this is a great decade to dress up in. I've been loving all the bright colors, all the fun accessories. This has really been a really fun one, Ted.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back, to the Roaring 20s that we did, right? That was a big event. And so, Sophie, people are going to follow your lead here on the show. And I would not be surprised that a high percentage of our speakers are going to show up in Fort Stock or Woodstock themed outfits. So I love the headband and, like Sarah says, the colors as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's super fun. I feel like with Woodstock, you can kind of go a little rugged because, you have the like brown throw over jackets, but then you also have the bright colors. So it's kind of a fun little mix of both.
All right. So we're in early August, but you know what? It's going to be here before we know it. Sophie, the big event is coming up in September. Give us the information on that and how people can get tickets.
Yeah, so it's going to be a virtual event that is September 18th through the 21st. And you can get your complimentary ticket at fixedopsroundtable.com. We have some amazing speakers lined up. It's Fort Stock 1960s themed, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We want to see y'all's costumes.
I love it. And so, Sophie, your background, you're not in the car business. Tell us, a little bit about you and who you are.
Yeah. So I just recently graduated. I finished up school this year, and I was a film and acting major. So I'm in the performance business. I live in Los Angeles, California. I act, I model, I produce films out here. But my family is in the car business. My grandfather and my great-grandfather and my great-great-great-grandfather all worked for Ford. And I grew up in Michigan in the Detroit area. So I grew up kind of surrounded by cars, and that's always been just a big part of my childhood. Also, in terms of my grandfather, the car business is what provided for a lot of our family for generations, even my dad. It impacted the way he grew up a lot. He didn't end up going into the car business, but it is still very much a big thing for him. And he's a big car guy. So, yeah.
I think you've got all the ingredients, and that acting is going to add a nice touch, Sarah, because I think in a way that's probably required to be in our business as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think, if someone hasn't had the course to go through it, they definitely have the flair and propensity to be really strong at it.
And Detroit, what a great market. I grew up in the New York area, Sophie, and I didn't get a chance to go to Detroit until after I had been in the car business for a couple of years. But wow, I learned that is really a serious business there. And, even in terms of the dealerships, they had people who stay such a long time at the dealership. In fact, I think the number one automotive salesperson in the world, we've had him on the show a couple times, is from Dearborn. His name is Ali Rita.
Oh, wow.
And Ali Rita holds the world's record. I think it's 1,600, almost 1,700 cars he sold just a few years ago. Wow. And in Detroit, I couldn't help but notice, Sarah, because I worked all these long retail hours like you, right? In Detroit, dealerships would close like at 6 o'clock at night. And a lot of times dealerships, domestics, were closed on Saturdays as well. So if you had to buy a car, it was during the week, right? And it was really interesting, their perspective. But people, Sarah, stayed a long time. So
that's incredible. That is really a testament to the culture in those organizations.
So moving forward, everybody, Sophie's going to be with us at the events with Sarah as well. In fact, Sophie, I think we have a pop-up event coming up in Michigan in a short time. So hopefully you can join us for that as well.
Yeah, I'd love to.
There's a big university there called Northwood University, and that's going to be the site of one of our pop-up events in early October. In the meantime, Sarah, you and I are headed to a pop-up very shortly with a good friend of ours, Bob Tasca, and he's got a great message for technicians as well.
Yes, I'm so excited about going to BG Products. This is going to be an amazing visit, and I can't wait to interview Bob and some of the rest of the BG Products team.
Yep. So we're going to have our next pop-up event, everybody, from BG Products. Sarah Vantine will be with me, and we're going to be there with the leaders of BG and the people of BG. And joining us is going to be the great Bob Tasca. And I believe, Sophie, that empire now, it's grown from 1 and 2 and 3 dealerships in the Rhode Island area. He's all over the country now. He's got between 20 and 25 dealerships. And one of the reasons we're going to be at BG is that just a couple days later, Bob is racing in the Topeka Nationals. He won the national championship. This is his picture from last year. And Bob is going to be there with the BG Mustang. And Sarah, I noticed that he's all BG'd out with that outfit. And I think we're going to hear that term a couple times along the way.
Oh, it's going to be so exciting to be in BG and then be BG'd out.
So, and he's got a great message because Sophie, in our industry, a lot of times, you know, we don't do a good enough job attracting young talent, okay, especially women, all right? And, you know, women are a big part of our event at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, as you'll see, and encouraging, you know, women to find a career in the automotive industry can be very, very rewarding. And Bob also encourages people to become technicians. And Sarah, you've done some studies on that at Quantum5 on the need for technicians and how to retain them. Would you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's really, really awesome to get some of the culture and data insights when it comes to attracting and keeping talent. And that's one of the foundational pieces that we really focus on at Quantum5 with the training and how we really impact organizationally the employees. And what's really fascinating is a lot of the data that we gather, we look at the entire organization, and that really includes technicians too. And it really is fascinating to see when technicians are leaving, why some of the reasons they're leaving, you know, what ultimately impacts that decision. And there's, of course, a lot of factors when you're looking at this on a national, local, or even regional level. But a lot of the same reasons why technicians are seeking other opportunities, they remain consistent across the board.
Yeah, that's right. And great career in automotive. And Sophie, Tully Williams from the Tully Button, who will be on with us at the roundtable. Tully says, and in his organization, he's got, I think, 167 technicians who work in the Nilo company. He wants them to go home, Sophie, rich and tired, okay? Because a technician can make a great living, but he wants to go home tired, wants them to go home tired so that they put in a lot of hours, because in fixed ops, you know, the hours in the shop really make a big difference to the dealership. So Sophie, you know, we're counting on you on the fixed ops side, because this is not the most glamorous part of automotive, and you know, as opposed to buying a car. So what do you think so far? I know you've been doing your homework and you've been asking me a lot of questions along the way.
Yeah. I think it's so cool what you're doing, Ted, in terms of bringing some fun and some light and some community to this business. Because as we discussed prior to hopping on this call, relationships are kind of the foundation of your guys's industry built within. And I think that that's so awesome what you're doing, connecting each other and getting to know each other and dressing up and making it fun. So, yeah.
You know, I asked that question recently at one of the pop-up events to Ed Roberts, who's going to be on the show here. And Ed Roberts said that, you know, not only do we make it fun, but people learn a little bit about history at our events also, because a lot of people, you know, Woodstock, where was that? When was that? And, you know, we've got the music themes, and I think our video team does a great job with the edits and the colors, and Michelle McLean with the fonts and the graphics. And so, Sophie, this is now going to be our 21st event in September,
Wow.
the Fixed Ops Roundtable Ford Stock, and it has grown from a one-day event to a 4-day event. This is insane.
Well, that's just a testament, Ted, to how impactful this is. This is what's so cool about it. I remember the in-person events, and when we were doing those at various places, including when I first got to experience it out in Las Vegas in 2020. But it's so cool to see the amount of content and the amount of learning and the amount of topics that you pour into every single roundtable that's expanded it from one day all the way out to 4 days.
I was worried we wouldn't have enough, to have people come in and fill a room to even have a meeting or a conference. And here we are at a 4-day event, Sophie. So grateful to have you and Sarah with us. And, this is expanded. We've got the After Dark show now 2 nights a week here. And we've got the podcast, which is a huge hit as well on Mondays. And we've started these pop-up events. That's brand new, Sophie. We just started them in May of this year. And Sarah, you got to host the one that we did in Orlando. Talk to us a little bit about that, because that was really a unique reunion of a lot of the Fixed Ops Roundtable people, as well as Sarah, we did a lot of interviews at that event.
Yes, we did. That was such a cool event. And, of course, we had Ed Roberts, Tully Williams, some of the familiar faces that have been part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable at a lot of the pop-ups and also a lot of the Fixed Ops Roundtable events. But what was so cool about getting to do this in person, I just love the format of these pop-up events, because it just brings such an energy to everybody. I mean, every single panel was just so excited to be there. And of course, Ron Overs, Michelle McLean, Sean Kingery, everybody was really pouring into the conversation and just having that additional element in person. We had a lot of really good topics that we were talking about. We were talking about women in automotive, and how our careers have been impacted with this industry in so many different positive ways. We talked about, Fixed Ops Magazine, and of course, all of the different types of articles that Ron publishes and how much reach that magazine has. And we had just a lot of really amazing guests that were really talking about all the different ways that we impact customers across the automotive industry, and also the people that are employees across automotive.
Yeah. And Sarah, great points. And I think, Sophie, you're going to see that a lot of what we do at the roundtable, I mentioned the focus on women in retail automotive, but we really make a conscious effort, that when we have conversations like this, we have panels that, women are equally represented. And, we shouldn't have to focus on that, but we want to make sure that, we highlight, the hardworking people in retail. So the idea of the pop-up, Sophie, the one in Orlando was held on a stage, okay, at a conference center. But these are going to be at dealerships, and we're going around the country to go in the store, and we're meeting with the people who work in the dealerships, and we're broadcasting these live. So we have panels of the women of the dealership. Ed Roberts had one on mobile service at Bozard. Tully had one on the parts panel, the technicians, the writers, all these different topics. And so, Sophie, you're going to get a chance to see a lot of people firsthand on the Fixed Ops Roundtable from the dealership.
Oh, that's so exciting. I think one of my favorite parts about what I've noticed about your guys' business is that people can kind of work from the ground up, which I think is so cool. In terms of both women and men can start out from nothing and really build their way up in the business. It's awesome.
That's very observant, because I think that's one of the top discussions that we have, Sophie, is that we call it the career path. Okay. And it's so common that somebody started off as a shuttle driver, okay, as a lot attendant, as a salesperson at 19 years old, okay, and they can end up running the dealership and owning their own dealership within a matter of, a short period of time. Yeah. In fact, Sarah, you've really done a great job on the BDC side, but, it's so much more than that. Sarah, we've met ladies who are now the dealer principal, who own the dealership. You and I are going to be interviewing one of the top people at CDK Automotive at the next event as well. And I'm thinking of Liza Borges, Sarah, and other people who've just broken all barriers and, really done a great job.
It's amazing to see so many different ways that we all have joined the industry, but then also enhanced our careers. And I think that's really the take-home message there, is that the sky's the limit. The only limitation that we have is how far do you want to go? And that's super exciting to be in an industry that allows that.
Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, how did you get into the car business? I think Sophie was asking us that a little bit earlier, but I thought that was fascinating.
Oh gosh. So this is some people know the story, some people don't, but it's really interesting. I had no intention of ever getting in the car business. This was something that kind of happened on accident. But it happened on accident because, 2008, 2009, I was graduating college in 2009 and had two bachelor's degrees, one in studio art and my other was in art history, which was really bordering on archaeology. So the intention with those degrees was to get into museum curation and to go into maybe some of the antiquities or private collection type of work. And I always found that really, really fascinating and interesting. But my job prospects were really limited in 2009. And I was told, there were people that had PhDs that were taking unpaid internships just to get their foot in the door at various museums and organizations. And so that really steered my whole fate. And it's really amazing that just something like that, where I was intending to pursue, more art related type of field, ultimately totally changed. And I wound up going into sales. And I had never sold a car before. I had really never had any interest in cars. Truly, I understood I needed to change my oil, but that was about it when it came to maintaining my own car. And it was so fascinating to just walk into a dealership. And I don't know, I just decided that I thought, hey, I want to sell cars. I think
How long did you sell cars?
Oh my gosh. So I sold cars really for about a year and a half. And we had some moves in between when I first got started in the business, but really went from being a salesperson to an internet sales manager, which is to me kind of a funny term because today that is really a sales manager. That's everybody goes on the internet today, but back then, internet sales manager. And then I had an opportunity when we relocated to the Chapel Hill, North Carolina market. I came in with a group with the Hendrick organization, and Gerald Ramoyne, who's been on your show as well. We've had him on a couple panels before, but he was the one that really kind of introduced me to BDC, and it was something that I had not considered really diving into along my career, but it was something he encouraged and was like, I think you'd be really good at managing this and helping to build this department. And so it was really exciting. That was really the starting point. About a year and a half into my career, going from selling cars to crafting a BDC, and then just took it from there for 14 years.
So, Sophie, I got to ask you a question. Do you think you could sell cars if you ever had to?
That's probably the one. If I learned more about cars, for sure, that's probably the one aspect of this business that I could do. I don't know that I could fix the car or that I would like doing any of that, but sales and talking to people, I think I could do that.
Yeah. Sarah, was it hard being a woman on the showroom floor selling cars that first couple months, that first year?
So I'm very stubborn to begin with. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it definitely served me well during this period of my life. So, coming into the business, I was a really young 22, 23-year-old. And so when you come into it with that lens, and also somebody, looking at it during a recession, they were looking at it from the perspective of, okay, well, we're just going to hire people to try to sell more units, because I chose to go to a Dodge store, which meant that they were in bankruptcy at the time, if you remember back then. So that was also a really interesting layer to that whole story. So it was something that I didn't really get any formal training for quite a while. It was probably about 6 months into my job before I really got formal training. But what was so fascinating to me is I looked around the dealership, and, as you mentioned, you don't have to have even, a high school diploma. You don't have to be or have higher education to be successful in the car business. And so I was looking around and I was seeing people that were making a great living. And I'm like, well, there's absolutely no reason that I can't do that. I want to try this. And so I took every opportunity to learn, Now, I learned some, through trial by fire where things weren't so nice in my favor. But other times, I think that the thing that I loved the most about it was just being able to serve people and be that person to really help them along their purchase journey. And so that's where I think I was so impactful, and why I was so good at selling cars was not because I had extensive amounts of product knowledge at 22, 23 years old, but I'd made every effort when somebody came in and I was working with them to really make them feel like their time was valuable, and that they were, supposed to be there, and that whatever car that they were working on purchasing, I would help them along the way. And so, I have a really funny story even on that note. I had one of my first car sales was a gentleman who had been a car salesman for over 30 years. And when he retired, he bought a shrimp boat down in Charleston, South Carolina, which, I think we all think like Forrest Gump, right? When we think of like shrimp boat person. But anyway, that's exactly what he did. And he came in to buy a car, and I was the person, it was my turn. He was my up at the time. And so I come out to greet him, and he's like, "Aren't you a little young to be selling cars? Like, how old are you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm 22." And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I got stuck with the 22-year-old. How long have you been in the business?" And I'm like, 3 weeks. And so he was just kind of teasing me a little bit. So he's like, so we were going through the lot. He wanted to go buy a minivan for his wife. And we walked up to one, and he goes, "Do you know how the navigation works in this thing?" And I said, "No, but I could read about it and then get back to you and help you with it." And he just kept laughing I never at any point attempted to misrepresent what I knew or what I didn't know, but I was just always very polite and said, "I just want to help you. How can I help you move this along?" And he wound up buying the car from me. And what was so funny about it is he said, it was just the persistence and how much I wanted to help him. And that I just consistently, even though he was kind of he goes, "I'm so sorry. I was kind of a jerk to you. And that wasn't really fair to you, but I just never really encountered somebody like you in the car business. I'd never really encountered somebody like you selling cars that just was so optimistic about everything and excited to be here." So it kind of caught him off guard, but he wound up being one of the customers that I think all total, if I remember right, I had about 16 different cars that he referred in some fashion through friends or family, because he knew that I would always take care of anything that came up. And so he himself and his household wound up buying 3 cars from me. So it's really just about the people, Ted, I think is what is so impactful about this business and how we help each other.
Yeah. So Sophie, great story from Sarah. It is a people business, and there's everybody's got a story, right? And so it's our job to help, get the story out and let people talk, and let them do the talking, and maybe we'll ask the questions, right? But everyone's got a story, and they're all unique. And Sophie, there's a whole lot in this business, and it goes a long way. So we're very grateful to have you and Sarah both here today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a part of it. And Sarah, I think you're just such a testament to how you can grow in this business, like we were chatting about earlier, where it's not like you don't need to know everything about cars to get started. You just need to get started and be willing to learn along the way. And I think that's so awesome. I also think what you guys are doing in terms of highlighting women in this business is really empowering and just a good thing to see, because I don't know that that's necessarily highlighted so much. I think when we think of the automotive industry, we can kind of just as human beings think of men, because that's what's been highlighted for so long. So I love that you guys are chatting with women and doing panels with women. It's so awesome.
So Sophie, good point. From the outside looking in, right? This is considered a male-dominated industry. And if you walked into a dealership to buy a car or to get your car serviced, if you didn't see very many, if any, women at the dealership working there, I would think that would send you as a consumer a message, right? If they didn't have women there.
Mm-hmm.
So, women are a big part of what we do, and grateful to everybody. So for all they do at the round table. And Sarah, we're, like I said, we've placed a big focus on that. And I think it was Liza who said, it'll be great one day when we have a women's panel, and we don't have to call it the women's panel, right?
Well, and it's even beyond that. So Ted, what I've loved so much about the pop-up events that you've done, and this has been so exciting to see progress too, is just bringing even the awareness outside of what traditionally gets all of the accolades and attention in retail automotive. So highlighting people in the accounting office, highlighting people in the parts department, highlighting technicians. Oftentimes those are not the people in the positions that get the limelight or even the interviews or the discussions. So to see so many people that you've brought in on these pop-ups and across all of the different roundtable events where they're doing incredible things for their people and their organizations, this is so cool to see just the whole fabric of how many different ways that people can be involved in automotive.
So two people I want to highlight tonight as we kind of wrap up. Number one is our great friend, Ed Roberts, the COO at Bozard Ford Lincoln. Ed Roberts just came out with his new book, Mile One Leadership. And I saw that just a couple days ago, the publisher had a post on social media that it broke all pre-sale records. Okay. This book is now out. Ed Roberts is going to be joining us here at the roundtable. We did our first pop-up event with him, and talk about somebody who came from nothing. He started off in the dealership, nothing, just started off at the very, very bottom and has worked his way all the way to the top. And so very grateful to Ed and all he does for the roundtable. And I think I showed the picture a little bit earlier there, Sarah, of you presenting him with that Certified Dealer Award. And we'll be presenting that same award to Bob Tasca now here at BG for the Tasca Automotive Group. They'll become a certified dealer group as well. So grateful to Ed for all he does. And one more person, we just had him on the show the other day, and I want to do a shout out to our community. We're all rallying around our great friend, Sean Butler, who's been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. He's in a fight of his life right now. He just started his treatment. He's going to be undergoing treatment for quite a while. Sean's involved with all of our events. And as you know, at the roundtable, every year, we all get behind a charity, and we have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for cancer research. And I can tell you firsthand how effective that is, because I've been the beneficiary, for my cancer that I've had for some time. And I've told Sean that I was able to beat the odds, with a comeback. And I know that Sean Butler is going to beat the odds as well. Everybody, if you want to help donate to Sean Butler to help offset his large bills that are not covered by insurance, fixedopscares.org is the website. You can go to fixedopscares.org, make a website. That's a GoFundMe page. There's no fee on there at all. Everything goes right to the charity for Sean Butler. And Sarah, you and I are going to see him. He's coming to the pop-up event with BG with us.
Yes, I can't wait to see him there. And Sean is just such an incredible person. So I hope all of y'all out there listening, please, whatever amount that you can, please donate to help him in this fight.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to seeing him. You and I are going to interview him in person at BG at the pop-up event. So great stuff. All right. So that's coming up right away. We have another pop-up event in Madison, Wisconsin at the Kaiser Automotive Group coming up a little bit later in the month. And then Sophie, of course, we got the big event coming up in September, Ford Stock. Give us the dates on that one again.
Yeah, so it's going to be September 18th through the 21st, and y'all can get your complimentary tickets at fixedopsroundtable.com. All
right, love it. And everybody, be sure to get those complimentary tickets. 4-day event, action-packed. We got a huge lineup for that. Very grateful to everyone for watching tonight. And Sarah, for you for being here, for telling us your story. And Sophie, for you being here and telling us your story as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. I'm excited to learn more about this business and get to know each and every one of you. So,
all right. A lot coming up, everybody. On behalf of Sarah Vantine and Sophie Jordan Collins, I'm Ted Ings, and we'll see you next time here on After Dark.